South Korea is the sixth largest consumer of coffee in the world, with an average annual coffee consumption of 353 cups, and Koreans like to drink coffee. For your information, the average amount of coffee in the world is 132 cups a year. Especially Koreans prefer to drink Iced Americano. Korea is the only country that drinks Iced Americano, so especially many people from Europe are surprised to see that Koreans enjoyed Iced Americano. Because of this, Korean iced coffee are in vogue on the internet. But actually, Korean iced coffee on the internet is weird for Koreans. From now on, we shall now study Korea's coffee history and culture. Koreans drank tea, suknyung, and shike, not coffee, for a long time. Suknyung is a scorched rice water that is made of water poured over scorched rice on the bottom of the rice cooker and boiled. Shike is a sweet rice drink that is made of rice, sugar, and honey. It is assumed that the time when coffee flew in Korea was in the 19th century, when one of the French missionaries who came to Korea to the missionary work brought coffee beans. At the time, there is a Joseon dynasty in Korean peninsula. Actually, there is a record that one of French missionary, Simeon François Begonet, asked the French to send coffee on March 6, 1860. Coffee is a big-ticket and a valuable item that only royal families and special class can enjoy at the time. The royal family served coffee when they served guests. Also, there is a record of Empress Myeongseong, who is the wife of Emperor Gojong, treating Isabella Bird Bishop, who is an England geographer, to coffee and wine for dessert in 1895. Also, Emperor Gojong loved drinking coffee. With this love of coffee, King Gojong almost got poisoned. While King Gojong and the prince drank coffee after dinner, Gojong noticed that the taste of coffee was weird, so he stopped drinking. It was done by Kim Hong-ryuk, who worked as an interpreter for the Russian legislation at the time. When the pro-Russian faction fell in Joseon, he lost his job and was exiled on charges of embezzlement of public funds. He was dissatisfied and put a large amount of opium in King Gojong's coffee. Fortunately, King Gojong drank a small amount of coffee, so there was no risk to his life. But after this incident, there was no end to the debate about coffee in the court. Some of the servants kept opposing drinking coffee that only Western people can eat Western food. After King Gojong died in 1919, the belief that Japan poisoned him so that it could easily rule Joseon spread. Until now, we can't tell the truth about King Gojong's poison theory, and King Gojong died after drinking shike, not coffee. But most Koreans have thought Gojong's death was related to coffee. The time after the Korean War was the trigger that coffee became widespread in Korea. The Korean War is the war between North Korea, China, and the Soviet Union against South Korea, the United States, and the UN. War like the Korean War makes the army the focus of coffee and consumption. After the Korean War, the United States Army was stationed in Korea, where granular instant coffee was offered to many US soldiers, so Koreans were able to drink granular coffee. Decisively, Dongseok Foods Corporation developed the first domestic coffee named Maxwell House Regular Ground Coffee and Maxim September 1917. Coffee became the Koreans' favorite beverage. Many coffee vending machines on the street are indicators that Koreans love coffee. During this time, there were many dabangs in Korea. Dabang is a similar concept to a contemporary cafe. It is easy to understand that dabang are the old-fashioned versions of cafes. In dabangs, many Koreans enjoyed many teas, including coffee. A dabang is also a place for public conversations where many young people can find methods to cope with the dark days of military dictatorship in the 1960s and 18th. The sangwacha, a black herbal tea produced from boiling licorice, cinnamon, angelica root, and nuts, is a unique feature of the dabang. Many people put on an egg yolk into the sangwacha. Dabangs, on the other hand, have vanished since the emergence of coffee shops in Korea. Around the time of the 1980 Seoul Olympics, the cafes began to develop in earnest. The first Cafe Jardin opened at Apgujeong on 1988. The first Starbucks store opened in front of Ewha Women's University in 1999. Currently, there are about 76,000 cafes in Korea. In the case of Starbucks, there is no place without Starbucks in Korea, and even Starbucks is next to Starbucks in Gangnam, Seoul. The best-selling coffee in Korean cafe is definitely Iced Americano. Until the 1980s, Korean coffee is sweet instant coffee. But after the cafes embarked on selling the brewed coffee, Korean coffee taste changed. Korean call Iced Americanos AA for short. Most Koreans drink only Iced Americano or Four Seasons. We have a newly coined word 얼주가, which is 얼어 죽어도 ice for short. It means hardcore Iced Americano drinker that only drinks Iced Americano even when it's freezing. Actually, for Koreans, coffee is a drink for caffeine consumption after taking some rest. Coffee is a beverage that swiftly ingests caffeine to wake up and revive you after a long day. Especially, Korea has a 빨리빨리 culture, so Koreans have to get back work quickly after lunch and coffee. So, an Iced Americano is the best coffee for Korean culture. Also, an Iced Americano is the cheapest coffee in Korea, so it is affordable for Koreans who drink coffee every day. And a strong seasoning in Korean food causes the inside of the mouth to be dry after eating it, while an Iced Americano makes it refreshing in contrast to beverages made with milk. Because of this culture, it is said that office workers cannot live without Iced Americano. The internet's craze for Korean iced coffee last year was strange coffee to Korean. There is avocado, it is pouring espresso into vanilla ice cream in Korea, but there is no Korean iced coffee. Actually, for Korean, real Korean iced coffee is Iced Americano. So thank you for watching this video and don't forget to click the like and subscribe button.